Hello, my name is Matthew Mangan, and I am a BigFix technical advisor based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a QR code that, when scanned, will direct you to my LinkedIn page. After this presentation, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them with me there. I'm here today to talk with you about client settings. So what exactly is a client setting in BigFix? These are advanced settings that give you substantial control over the BigFix platform and its components, such as the server, your relays, and clients. There are plenty of pre-built tasks for client settings in the BigFix console. Fear not that if you are looking to apply a setting that does not have a task, it is quite easy to create your own. Client settings must be used with caution, as they can cause non-optimal behavior. Some commonly used client settings are listed on the screen here. I've come across these quite often in my days as an administrator and a technical sales engineer. First up on the list is BES Client Enable Command Polling. This is especially useful in environments where you may have clients that are unable to receive UDP commands from their server or relays. This task configures the clients to poll their parent relay or server once an hour for UDP commands they may have missed. Next up, we have BES Client CPU usage. This setting configures the BES client to use more or less CPU depending on your needs. Next up, we have BES Client Enable Debug Logging. For troubleshooting purposes, it is sometimes useful to enable this setting. This setting will tell the BES client to log all activity to a debug log that is located in the same folder as the BES client. This log will be named BES client debug.log. Going into some relay and server client settings, we have the BES relay, BES server, download cache size. This setting will specify how much space or how much disk to use for cache before overwriting older files. When the cache is full, the least recently used files will be replaced. The default cache size is 1 GB, though in most environments I've worked in, I've set this to at least 4 GB, if not more. Further down, we have the BES client download cache stage disk limit. This setting stops pre-cache stage downloading if the client is already using this much space. Actions marked for pre-caching will report constrained if that total space used for downloads exceeds this limit. Last on the list, we have BES client download normal stage disk limit. This setting stops normal stage downloading if the client is already using this much normal stage download disk space. Again, actions marked for normal downloads will report constrained if the total space used for downloads exceeds this limit. Now that we've discussed what a client setting is and some of the most commonly used client settings, why don't we get into the console and work through some of these? It's fairly simple to find the BES client setting tasks. They're located under the BES support site, which you can see on the screen here. And you can see quite a few of them right at the top. Why don't we go ahead and enable command polling for one of my clients? I'm going to trim this list down and just search for command. There you see, I have the client setting for enabling command polling. It is always good to read the description for these client settings, as it gives you very important information. As remember earlier, I said sometimes these settings need to be applied carefully because they can cause non-optimal behavior. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and select the default to enable command polling for a client. I'll go through my list here and I'll go ahead and select Let's say Matt's MacBook Pro. Go ahead and say OK. And it's now going to go out and tell this machine that it needs to check in with its parent relay or server every 60 minutes for any UDP commands it may have missed. Another client setting we discussed earlier is the BES client CPU usage. Let's go ahead and go back to the BES support site and let's search for CPU. We'll select that task. And you'll see, again, very pertinent information in the description. By default, the BES client only utilizes 1 to 2% of the CPU. If needed, you can lower this to less than 0.5%, 5%, 10%, and up to 20%. Again, you can see in the actions section, the only one that is recommended is the default, though you may need to change this at times for certain events. Let's go ahead and change the CPU usage for one of my endpoints to 5%. I'll go ahead and select this machine and say OK. So again, once I take action on this, goes out to the machine, says, BES client, you can now use this much CPU. And we'll scroll down into the action script and you can see we're turning the setting on, and then we're setting these parameters. While this is running, we're going to discuss the last two items I put on the list earlier. The BES client download pre-cache stage disk limit and BES client download normal stage disk limit. I've already created a custom task for this, but let's walk through that. I'm going to search for cache because that is in its name. And we have the task here. Let's go ahead and edit the task. In the actions, you'll see that I'm setting the BES client download pre-cache stage disk limit and normal stage disk limit to 8 gigabytes. This task will only be relevant to machines that do not have this setting enabled. So what I'll do is I'll say OK to this. I'm going to take action. And what I want to make sure is that this setting is always there for a machine or a group of machines that I target. So let's target a group of machines. I'm going to say my CentOS endpoints. I'm going to change this to a policy so that this action will reapply whenever it becomes relevant again. Double check my targeting, my execution, and then I'm going to say OK. After some time, you'll see that those machines are checking in and applying that setting. We can actually go to my computers here and we'll double check that that setting is actually there. I select the computer, right click, and then edit computer settings. You can see right here that both of those settings are now set to 8 gigabytes. Go ahead and cancel this to close it out. And we'll see I have 3 more that are left to report in. The other 2 that we executed, that we took action on, have both completed. We've come to the end of the presentation. Again, as mentioned earlier, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And also, one last note, there are some very helpful websites that we provide. We have the BigFix main website, www.bigfix.com. We have our support website where you can get support, see information about events, publications, engage, do some learning, support.bigfix.com. And as always, our BigFix forum at forum.bigfix.com. Thank you very much. I look forward to speaking to you all soon.